On October 7th, 2019, in the city of Frankfurt, Germany, at exactly 11:40 in the morning, a man named Thomas Kraus, a cybercrime investigator with the German Federal Police, was doing what he did every day, tracking suspicious money flows online, especially across the dark web. That morning, something strange popped up on the automated monitoring system, a red flag. It was an alert about a series of massive Bitcoin transactions, all coming from the same digital address. That address had already popped up a few times in the past few days, but today, the volume was off the charts. We're talking serious numbers, a flood of crypto moving non-stop. Worse, that address wasn't in any of the police databases. Thomas's instincts kicked in. He knew something big was happening, and he had to dig deeper. He launched the Tor browser, the infamous gateway into the darkest corners of the internet, a place with no rules, no oversight, and no mercy. Let's be clear. The dark web is not a place for the faint of heart. One wrong click and your life could change forever. Once inside, Thomas found himself staring at one of the biggest illegal marketplaces on the dark web, Market Blaz Darknet. This wasn't just some shady website. It was an open bazaar of crime. Drugs, guns, fake documents, stolen passports, hacked credit cards. Everything was up for sale, clearly listed, openly priced. No shame, no hiding. But the real shock? It wasn't what they were selling. It was the reviews. Each item had hundreds, sometimes thousands of ratings, and every single rating meant a sale had gone through. Someone bought the product, used it, and came back to leave feedback, like it was Amazon. But for crime, this wasn't just some underground network of criminals. This was an empire. A well-oiled machine running right under the noses of law enforcement. And it felt like they were sending a message to every police agency out there. If you think you can take us down, go ahead and try. And just like that, Thomas Kraus found himself at the start of one of the most complex and brutal cyber battles in the history of German law enforcement. This is the story of Market Blaz Darknet, a story of a bold criminal empire that dared to challenge every security agency in Europe and sold the forbidden right out in the open. But who built this marketplace? How did they fool the authorities for years? How much money did they actually make? Was it a lone mastermind behind it all? Or an entire global crime network? And how did this digital crime syndicate come crashing down in a wave of raids and arrests that shook Europe to its core? Back in 2017, there was a young German guy named Sascha. Now, after a lot of digging, no one could ever find his full name. Not because it doesn't exist, but because German law doesn't allow media to publish full names of criminal suspects, even after they're convicted. It's all to protect the privacy of their families. So every source out there simply referred to him as Sascha F. That year, Sascha was 24 years old. He lived with his family in a small apartment in the city of Ulm, part of a quiet, middle-class household. No trouble, no criminal history. He was just a regular college student studying computer science. But Sascha had always been different, introverted, quiet. He didn't have many friends, didn't really want many. He never liked parties or hangouts. His entire world revolved around one thing: computers and the internet. In that digital world, Sascha felt something he never felt in real life: power, intelligence, control. He believed he could do things no one else could. He spent hours and hours on hacker forums, reading about data breaches, deep web heists, and elite hacking crews messing with the police. And he was hooked. He was fascinated. It felt like he'd finally found his people. In Sascha's eyes, the digital world didn't care about your looks, your name, or where you came from. It gave you something else. An identity, a purpose, real power. And I need to pause here for a second, because what I'm about to say next was the turning point in Sascha's life. But it could also be a turning point in your life, or someone close to you, your son, your daughter, your younger brother, maybe even you. If you're from my generation or younger, if you're a parent, a sibling, even just a kid, listen closely. What I'm telling you isn't just part of a story. It's a warning. A reality check that affects all of us. The world has changed. Nothing is hidden anymore. But the scary part? Everything that's out in the open now looks perfect. Back in the day, a kid might get jealous if the neighbor had a new toy. That envy had a limit. The neighborhood, the classroom, the street. Most people lived on the same level. No one felt too far behind. But now, the internet brought the entire world into our pockets. Now any kid, any teen, scrolls through videos and sees lives that seem like dreams. Luxury cars, tropical vacations, smiles, perfect lighting. A life that looks like pure bliss. Every single day, social media shows us a filtered reality. People who never make mistakes. People who never struggle. People who seem to be winning all the time. And the more followers they have, the more powerful the illusion becomes. They show us paradise, and we believe it. But the truth? Behind those perfect pictures, life is often completely different. Sometimes just average. Other times, way darker than we can imagine. And that's when Sascha started feeling something dangerous. A spark. One that would change the life of a young man. Forever. The problem is, the human brain naturally believes what it sees. And when you keep seeing those perfect images over and over again, you start comparing. Then comes the self-doubt, then the quiet defeat. For someone shy and withdrawn like Sascha, this was a ticking time bomb. He wasn't social. He hated being the center of attention. He didn't have that flashy energy people show off with on social media. He didn't know how to pose or brag or perform for likes. He didn't have a loud voice, but he was still human. He felt things. He wanted things. He looked at those dreamlike lives on screen and thought, why not me? But he knew. He wasn't built for trending. He didn't belong in a world where everyone was constantly showing off, acting like they were living in some endless paradise. That pressure, that crushing sense of invisibility, it pushed Sascha to look for another world. A world with no selfies, no filters, no race for attention. A world where people didn't care what you looked like or what you owned. Where no one asked about your background. In that world, the only thing that mattered was your mind. How clever you were. How good you were at breaking in, manipulating, outsmarting. And that's where Sascha found his place. The dark web. That hidden side of the internet, where money and fame mean nothing. But power, stealth, and skill, they mean everything. In that world, intelligence is king. Survival belongs to the smartest, not the strongest. And what needs to be said now is something important, something critical. We live in a world we carry in our hands, every minute, every place we go, and each of us has to pay attention. Look out for your brother, your son, your friend, anyone who's stuck comparing themselves to others, anyone who feels like they're not enough. Don't think this world is far away from you. Don't assume your child could never fall into it. The pressure of constant comparison, that alone, can be enough to push a young person to learn things you never thought they'd be capable of. As for Sascha, he didn't want to be just a hacker. He didn't want to be like the others. He wanted to be the mastermind. The name whispered across the forums, the one the police were chasing, but could never find. He followed stories like Silk Road, regular people who became legends on the dark web, people who challenged the system and made millions, all from behind a keyboard. Sascha started dreaming. He wanted to be one of them. But dreaming wasn't enough. He started building. And he didn't want to create just another sketchy site. He wanted to launch the biggest illegal marketplace ever, a site that would rewrite the rules. He spent night after night coding, planning, designing. Every line, every feature, carefully calculated. No room for error. The site had to be perfect. Fully encrypted, ultra-secure, anonymous to the core, and every single transaction done in Bitcoin. And that wasn't a random choice. Sascha knew what everyone in that world knows. Bitcoin is nearly impossible to trace, especially on the dark web. And just like that, Sascha started changing from a quiet, invisible college kid into a rising threat that would soon shake the foundations of Europe. When Sascha first launched his site, no one noticed. No headlines, no buzz, nothing. Silently, he logged into hacker forums and encrypted Telegram channels. He dropped the link with a short message. New market. Super secure. Lower fees than anyone else. Try it yourself. One seller joined, created an account, posted a small listing, a bit of hash, uploaded a photo, set a price, wrote a short description. Didn't take long. The first buyer showed up, paid in Bitcoin, got the product. And the most important part? It actually arrived. That buyer came back and left a simple review. Package arrived. All good. Thanks. That sentence lit the fuse. From that moment on, the market started growing, day after day. More sellers, more buyers. Every successful transaction turned into free advertising, because every review was a public stamp of trust, a signal that this market was safe and real. The marketplace began to function like a precision machine. Sascha watched the numbers climb, orders pouring in, money flowing, the site's reputation spreading like wildfire. Soon there was a full-on rating system. Every seller had a star score. Every product had reviews, just like any normal online store, except every item was completely illegal. And then the competition kicked in. Sellers battling to offer the best quality, the fastest shipping, the highest customer ratings. Buyers? They trusted the system more and more. Everything felt organized, transparent, even professional. But one of the biggest reasons people trusted the site was the escrow system. Simple, brilliant. When a buyer made a payment, the money didn't go straight to the seller. It stayed locked in the platform, held by the market itself, until the buyer confirmed they'd received the product. Only then was the payment released. That little feature? It created massive trust, protected both sides, and it turned Sascha's site into the gold standard of dark web trading. But with that kind of success, Sascha realized something dangerous. He couldn't run it alone anymore. Sellers were doubling by the day. Buyers were in the tens of thousands. The bigger the market got, the more complex it became. He needed a team, a real crew. Each person would have a role to keep the operation smooth, secure, and invisible. So Sascha went back to where he knew the talent was: secret hacker forums and the darkest corners of encrypted chats. He posted a cryptic job ad, looking for coders and cybersecurity pros. Huge project, paid in Bitcoin, full anonymity. The response? Overwhelming. Hackers from around the world jumped in. All they wanted was one thing: to stay completely anonymous. In just 1 week, Sascha assembled a team of 4. Here's who they were. Shifra, a brilliant programmer from Berlin. She handled all the site updates, plugged security holes, and made the platform bulletproof. Shadow, a cybersecurity expert from Hamburg. His job: block intrusions, detect threats, keep the market untouchable. Cashier, customer support. He communicated with sellers and buyers, solved disputes, all through encrypted channels. Runner, the logistics guy. He helped sellers and smugglers when deliveries failed or routes got messy. But here's the twist. None of them knew each other. Not even Sascha knew their real names. All communication happened through a military-grade encrypted messenger called Threema. Impossible to trace, impossible to crack. They held meetings once a month, inside encrypted chat rooms built into the site itself. No one ever joined the meeting at the same time. Each entered separately, staggered, to avoid tracking. Even the language they used was coded. Goods were called books, police were neighbors, shipments were called atrots. Sascha was obsessed with staying invisible, even from his own team. He made sure every member kept their identity secret, even from their families. Shifra told her family she worked for a tech firm. Shadow said he was working on his PhD. Cashier claimed he was a delivery driver. No one, not a single person, knew they were part of one of the most dangerous underground teams in Europe. And no one could have imagined what was coming next. Even though Sascha had handpicked his team with extreme care, he never fully trusted any of them. He was always cautious, always suspicious, never left anything to chance. Quietly, he started putting each member through secret tests, without them ever knowing. He was testing their loyalty. He'd assigned fake tasks just to see how they'd react. For example, he sent Shadow, the cybersecurity expert, a list of websites and told him to hack into them. But those weren't just random sites. They were traps, honeypots set up by law enforcement, designed to lure hackers in. They'd leave deliberate vulnerabilities and wait, hoping a hacker would take the bait, then reach out to offer cooperation. That's when the police would swoop in, start conversations, get to know them, maybe even recruit them. But Sascha wasn't just testing Shadow's skills. He was watching what happened after the hack. Would Shadow contact the police? Would he make a move toward any official agency? Or would he stay quiet, follow orders, and keep his mouth shut? If Sascha saw even a single message, even a hint of outside contact, he considered it betrayal. And just like that, the person was gone. No warnings, no second chances. But if someone stayed in line, kept their head down and didn't cross any lines, Sascha started to trust them. They became part of the inner circle through a series of smart, invisible tests. Sascha made sure his team was clean. No spies, no undercover agents. His crew became his fortress from the inside. And over time, they proved themselves. The marketplace was exploding. Business was so good, Sascha started paying them salaries bigger than what top bank execs were making, all in Bitcoin. Shifra, the genius coder, was the highest paid. Her monthly salary hit 20,000 euros. Shadow, the security guy, got 5,000 euros a month, plus fat bonuses whenever he blocked an attack. Cashier, the customer support guy, made 2,000 euros with extras for every issue he solved. And Runner? He pulled in about 1,500 euros monthly, plus a commission for every successful delivery. And they were doing dozens, sometimes hundreds, of deals a day. Truth is, Sascha could have paid them way more, but he was afraid one of them might start spending recklessly and attract unwanted attention. Because behind all this massive success was a minefield. The market was growing fast. Orders were flowing way beyond Germany, now reaching every corner of Europe. But this wasn't clothes or gadgets we're talking about. This was drugs, weapons, fake documents, stolen cards. The marketplace had become the go-to hub for anyone looking to buy or sell something forbidden. But as always, every success comes at a price. The market had grown so much, it was getting nearly impossible to keep everything hidden. And then, mistakes started happening. Some sellers got sloppy, started listing their products openly, shipping packages without encryption, without stealth. Even worse, some buyers were ordering huge amounts of drugs and using their real home addresses. That kind of recklessness started to raise red flags with law enforcement. Sascha did his best to minimize the exposure, constantly warning the team, tightening protocols, but with the scale of daily operations, total control became impossible. And then came the first major slip-up, and it came from the weakest link in the crew. Guess who? Runner. Runner had told his family he worked for a global shipping company, coordinating packages and logistics. In other words, he barely changed his cover story. That carelessness was the first loose thread, the one that would start to unravel one of the most dangerous cybercrime networks in Europe. One regular day, a message popped up in the market admin inbox. A new seller, in a hurry. He needed to ship out a large batch of hash to a customer. The problem? The customer had sent a real, unmasked shipping address, a full, legit postal location with a fake drop-off point. And Runner? He missed it. Didn't catch the red flags. He approved the shipment and sent the package through express mail. No encryption, no disguise, nothing. The package did arrive, but the police had been watching that address for a while. It had been flagged in a previous drug case. So the moment the drop happened, the cops intercepted the delivery. Inside? Exactly what they feared, a decent stash of hash. But the real disaster wasn't the drugs. It was the note that came with it, a small piece of paper, and on it, a tracking code. A direct link to the Marketblade's darknet site, instructions on how to leave a review after delivery, a promo code for the next order. That little paper was the first solid physical evidence linking the market to a real-world address. Remember Thomas, the cybercrime investigator in Germany? He and his team had been watching suspicious Bitcoin movements, all going to the same digital wallet, for months. They had everything digital, but no names, no addresses, no way to connect the money to a real human being. Every time they tried, they slammed into Sascha's wall of encryption, as if Sascha himself was taunting them. I'm right here, selling everything in plain sight. Come get me, if you can. The police watched the marketplace operate like a ghost ship, just out of reach, until that package landed, and that note cracked the shadow wall. It was gold. One line on the paper read, "If you have trouble with delivery, contact carrier on talks." And that was the sign they needed. The cops now knew someone in the market was handling logistics and went by the alias Carrier X on the app Talks. Now here's the issue. Talks is fully encrypted, practically untraceable. The messages disappear. The identities stay hidden. But the German police switched to Plan B. They logged onto the Market Blades site, began watching seller activity, and quickly noticed tons of users were messaging the same contact, Carrier X, so they ran a sting, started placing fake orders, tracked delivery points, and in multiple cases, the same person showed up. Runner. Sometimes he'd oversee the handoff himself. That's when they locked it in. They had him. But there was a serious problem. Runner had no idea who owned the market. He'd never seen any of the others in real life. Didn't even know what they looked like. For the police, that was a trap. If they arrested him now, they might lose the shot at catching the real masterminds. But if they let him go, he might lead them straight to the core. So they made the call. Keep him under deep surveillance. And it worked. Bit by bit, they started collecting more intel. Bitcoin wallet addresses, fake usernames, burner phone numbers, encrypted email accounts, and slowly, a picture started forming. They began cross-referencing digital activity with real-world patterns. People whose lives had suddenly changed. Folks showing sudden signs of sketchy wealth. But still, they had nothing concrete. No real names. No confirmed identities, except Runner. Then, in spring 2019, the German police decided to move. But they couldn't do it alone. So they reached out to the Dutch police, the same team that took down the infamous Hansa Market on the dark web. They explained everything. We've got a goldmine of data, but we can't reach the people behind the scenes. We've watched them, tracked them. Nothing sticks. If we grab Runner now, we might lose the biggest cyber bust of our careers. The Dutch team listened, then said, "You're wasting your time. None of this will work. Unless you get access to the app the team uses to talk. And as you already know, they use Tox, which is uncrackable." But the German investigators? They weren't ready to give up. Not even close. The real problem wasn't just that the team used Tox to talk. Even the customers contacted the market through it. Tox was the beating heart of the entire operation. A fully encrypted app, nearly impossible to trace, auto-deleting itself every few weeks. But the Dutch police? They had something diabolical in mind. They told the Germans, forget hacking the app. Hack Runner's device through the app. How? Simple. They created a fake seller account on MarketBlade's darknet, pretended to be dealers, ran a few dummy transactions. Then messaged Carrier, aka Runner, on Tox with a basic complaint. "Hey, there's an issue with the order. Check the attached file. Has all the return details." Runner opened the file. And just like that, his phone became property of the police. The virus the Dutch had built, a technical masterpiece, revealed the real IP address, pinpointed the exact location, gave the police full remote access, all without Runner ever knowing. Now they could see everything: photos, messages, usernames, even saved passwords, and the worst part? Runner had been using the same phone for his personal life, family pics, his real email, and he'd even written down his email password in a note. The police got into his inbox and found something shocking. An email from Chifra, the team's lead coder. Can you believe it? The message contained detailed instructions for accessing the market's backup servers. With that single email, they got in. And once they did, they opened the vault. They accessed the full database. Every chat, every deal, every seller, every crypto payment, every device fingerprint. But they didn't stop there. They wanted a permanent backdoor into the team's world. So they pushed out a fake update to the Tox app, sent to every core member. It looked like a security improvement, but it was really a stealth spyware upgrade. And this virus? Genius. No battery drain, no slowdowns, no warnings, silent, invisible, deadly. Runner, who had slow internet that day, just assumed the update was laggy and clicked install. Now, every phone in the crew was compromised. Shifra, Shadow, Cashier, all under surveillance, and none of them had a clue. But even with all these wins, the police hit their biggest wall yet. All of this data, all of the chats, all the operations, connected the team members to each other. But not to Sascha. Sascha was the ghost among them, smarter than everyone else. He never used a single device twice, never used his real name, ever. Never messaged the team from the same channel twice. All orders sent from encrypted aliases that rotated constantly, even when tracing his messages. There was no direct trail back to him. But then, he made one mistake. A tiny one, but a fatal one. And the police were about to catch it. As the Germans, the Dutch, and now a third player, the Bulgarian police joined forces. And with that collaboration, for the very first time, the real face of Sascha started to appear. In 2019, the investigation entered a whole new phase. The German police were now fully focused on Bitcoin transfers and shipping addresses. As they analyzed the flow of funds, they noticed something strange. One electronic device kept showing up at critical times. When the site got updated, when major announcements were posted, or during major market spikes. This one device, always connected from Ulm, Germany. After a long surveillance operation and deep analysis of internet traffic in that neighborhood, they managed to narrow it down to one small apartment. And the shocker? Every time the market had big activity, the internet traffic from this apartment would spike. With help from street cameras, router logs, and entry-exit timestamps, they concluded that the person living there was the one running it all, Sascha F. But they waited for him to slip, just once. And he did. For a few seconds, Sascha connected both his laptop and phone to the same Wi-Fi network. That was it. They had their proof. The police moved in. Fast. October 7th, 2019, early morning. A federal police unit headed straight for the apartment. They knocked on the door. Sascha? He was just sitting there, casually on his computer, working on a new update for the market. He had no idea. It was all over. They arrested him on the spot, confiscated every electronic device in the apartment, each one packed with incriminating digital evidence, encrypted chats, user databases, financial transactions, system updates, admin plans. And with Sascha's arrest, along with the rest of the team, Germany launched one of the biggest cybercrime trials in its history. The charges? Operating a criminal organization, drug trafficking, digital money laundering, designing complex encryption systems to obstruct justice. Sascha was the prime suspect. The court sentenced him to 8 years in prison. The rest of the crew got between 3 to 6 years, depending on their role. Some sentences were reduced due to cooperation with investigators. But the court didn't stop there. In the official ruling, the judge said, "The real danger of this case wasn't just the sale of drugs. It was the creation of a fully functional criminal digital system, one that made policing nearly impossible." Then added, "We're not just sentencing dealers. We're sentencing the inventors of a new form of cybercrime, one that threatens the security of all Europe." And just like that, the Market Blade's darknet legend came to an end. That same month, German police posted an official message on the website itself. The homepage now displayed a bold warning. This site has been seized by law enforcement. All user data is now in police custody. If you're a user, we know who you are. A chilling message to anyone who thought the dark web was safe or beyond the reach of law. But in the middle of all this chaos, there was one tiny detail that stuck with me personally. The date they arrested Sascha? October 7th. To every Arab, that date holds weight. It's a date of victory and dignity. And maybe, just maybe, it's a reminder that every oppressor, no matter how powerful, will one day fall, especially those oppressing our people in Palestine. But why did I tell you this story? Was it just to entertain? There's a real message here. Anyone who chooses the wrong path, no matter how smart or skilled, will never truly live in peace. Because the world is a cycle, and arrogance, it always crashes back to earth. Anyone chasing fast money, especially through haram, is headed straight for regret. What you see on social media, the perfect lives, the cars, the luxury, the fake laughs, it's all just a cover. Real life is about struggle, patience, and values. True success is living with dignity, fearing God, doing right by people. And before we end, to those loyal viewers who made it all the way here, let me leave you with one last fact. How much did Sascha make from this whole operation? Despite all the investigations and evidence, he only admitted to 3.5 million euros, 8 years in prison, and he'll walk out still holding a massive fortune. But the price? His freedom, his reputation, his future. If you enjoyed this story, you'll definitely want to check out The Impossible Escape from one of the most terrifying prisons on Earth, and the chilling story of the Tokyo subway gas attack. I'll see you in the next story.